Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV, another game of Interplanetary I Spy here for all you space detectives out there. And we have this image from Sol 72, so this goes right back to the very early days of the Curiosity rover mission in Gale Crater. And we have here what looks like a skull. And what's cool about this is we got scale because there are rover tracks in the same image, which gives us a good size. And this thing is about 7 inches or so tall. A bit smaller than the human skull, but very different. Now I'm going to show you it straight away, then we'll backtrack a little bit and I'll show you the raw images and stuff. We also got a GIGAPAN to look at to find it as well, which is cool. And what we have here is a very interesting skull, Martian, which doesn't look human. It's got a very strange point to the top of it. Just here. Comes around like this. We've got a cheekbone here, maxilla here, and a row of teeth, and the jaw comes down to there. And we have an eye here, and an eye here. A very narrow reptilian looking nose with what looks like a nasal cavity there on the side. So this looks like some kind of reptilian, perhaps, don't know for sure. And these rather interesting cranial plates at the back, which look like large scales almost. Here, okay, you can see them in the raw image really clearly. So if you look closely, you'll see even in the raw image there is a row of teeth here. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 coming around there, and there's 1 or 2 on the side, and some very vague ones below as well. And in the enhanced clip on the right, we can see those teeth here. So this is not a rock, it's a skull. And it has a row of incisors here which are pretty clear, and you could just about make out some teeth down below and the chin coming like that, okay, and the cheekbone sticks right out like that, and you can see these large eye sockets here coming right up, and there's an eye there and an eye there. And if you go in close and sharpen it up a bit like I've done here, you can actually see that there is some eye detail just here. You can actually see an eye here, and the eyelid coming right up. So they've got big almond-shaped eyes like some of the previous ones I've shown, and it looks very alien to what we would think of as a human, I would say. Not quite enough detail to determine exactly what it is, but it is a skull of some sort, and it has a row of teeth, 2 eyes and a nose, and a strange pointed head. Now let me show you on the GIGAPAN. There's a really nice one here by Neville Thompson. There'll be a link to this below, and here it is. You can see it quite clearly. It's very reflective, so you can see those teeth quite clearly in the raw image. A row of teeth just there. So it's rather strange. I don't really know what it is, whether it's a reptilian or not. It looks kind of reptilian to me because the nose is very, very small and narrow here. Like some of the others I've shown. So that was interesting. And there's loads and loads of other things in this area. You may want to have a look at this GIGAPAN because this is absolutely littered with what look like heads and skulls and remains lying around, and fossils and things. And if I find any more in here, which I'm sure I will, I'll put them in at the end of the video in a minute. So there was that. And if you haven't seen it already, please go and check out my previous video. Now I've got some details about that which I didn't point out in the previous video. The jet craft, I've called it, Mars jet craft. Now I'm not saying it's a flying aircraft. What I'm saying this might be is a speedboat, because if you look at this, you've got a cockpit and different colours to it, right? There's got a darker bluey colour on the back, it's got the sort of orange colours on the front, and all these kind of sponsorship names on the side of it and all that. But basically we've got these different colours. Now the weird thing is the one on Mars also has different colours. If I zoom in, you've got a blue cockpit which is very glassy looking. The front is a sort of greeny sort of colour, and then it goes to this yellowy sort of colour here, then orange, then back to blue at the back. Now what are the chances of an actual rock doing that, having these very, very starkly different colours along the side of it? This thing looks like it's got a paint job. why else would it have such different colours in one rock and a blue cockpit looking thing? It's also got this kind of part on the back. Now this may be a jet thing on the back here, these bits sticking out, these may be jets of some sort. Some sort of engine it looks like on the back. So do go back and watch that video because it does show that in more detail. And when you look at the negative of it, you can see those different parts quite clearly and how different the colours are. We go from this sort of colour at the front and it changes colour completely at the back and then changes back to this colour again. And the cockpit is a very different colour altogether. Okay? So you've got very different luminosities in one rock, which is very unnatural. So I do think this is some kind of craft. Now whether it's a plane or a boat, I'm not really sure, but it doesn't have any wings, so I'd have thought it's not an airplane. And it's rather small, it's only about 4 to 6 feet long, it may be 7 or 8, but it's a funny angle, leaning back, and we're seeing it from slightly from the side and the front. So it's kind of angled backwards, so check out the video. It's really interesting, and it really does, to me, look like a speedboat. And there are others that look like hovercraft in the area. This is really quite small, but there is this one that I found a while back, which is huge. This is hundreds of feet long, and this is at the bottom of Mount Sharp in the lake bed on a sort of what looks like a slipway here. We've even got structures next to it here. This is called Hovercraft Found on Mars Lake Bed from 2019. But this is massive, and this also has a cabin, or what looks like a sort of cockpit type cabin to it as well. But this is miles and miles away from the rover. And it's just sitting there on this kind of slope on the edge of the lake bed. And you can see the Forbidden City, as I've called it, up at the top here, with the pyramids and stuff and the huge hangars and massive buildings, and it's just at the bottom of that. So it's not the only one. So there are lots of other boat and ship-like things I found in Gale Crater. This is one of the better ones, but this is huge. This is about 300 or 400 feet long. It's absolutely massive. It may even be much bigger. It's about 200 to 300 feet at least, I would say. It's probably 4. Okay, so this is more like a ship, but it has that sort of cabin-like structure to it, right? So check that video out. I'll link to these at the end of the video, so you can click on them at the end. Click on the cards. So that was it, really. So check that out. Come along to Mars Magazine if you haven't joined up already. We've got over 3,000 members now, which doesn't seem a lot, but we don't get any sort of trolling on this page. Luckily, we don't seem to get much trolls, so that's cool. Okay, so check that out. The GIGAPAN to look at is this one here. When you click on the link, you want to look at the bottom one, and it's about here on the sort of left of center. And I'll just show you where to look. We've got the tracks here. So what you do, if you look at my cursor, you can zoom right out. It's on that third of the image on the left. And what you do is you follow the rover tracks up here and go above. You get to this bright rock here and then go just above there, and it's here, and it's kind of adjacent to this triangular looking rock here. Now a lot of these are not rocks, a lot of these are actually skulls and fossils, okay, and remains, calcified and petrified, a lot of them. Okay, so do check it out. There's so much to see here. I'm not going to go through it all today because I'll be here all day, and it's very, very hot here at the moment, and my computer is getting very hot. So that was it, really. So is it human? I don't think so. This thing, it doesn't look human. Doesn't look human at all. This looks like some kind of reptilian, and I have shown many others, and I'll put clips of the other skulls similar to this that I found. Really interesting. It's got a very narrow nose, big almond eyes, coming up like that. A very clear upper maxilla there, very large distance between the teeth and the nose, which is here. And we've got these teeth here, which are a little bit vague, but in fact, if you don't get too close and zoom back a bit, you can see it like on the raw image here. You can see them quite clearly. So it is a skull. It's not a rock. Rocks don't have rows of incisors like this has. So very interesting. So another one for the collection that will get ignored by most people because the words I'm using on YouTube, words like skull, are probably restricted for some reason. There are lots of restricted words I don't use or try not to. I normally use the word cranium, but I still seem to get into trouble for using it. So there we are. The problem is with YouTube is there's so many blacklisted words now. It's very difficult to talk about anything of any note without getting restrictions put on your videos. And they don't actually tell you they're being restricted, they do it secretively. So you kind of get shadow banned. So there it is, there's just the enhanced clip on its own. And you can see that shape really clearly there. That point to it. Very interesting. So please come along to my new channel, Space Detective 1. There's lots of videos on that channel, over 110 I think. There's about 113 on there, so check that out. I'm trying to get this channel up to 40,000 subscribers. I'm only about 300 or 300 or 400 away from it. So I could probably do that in a week or two, hopefully. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and go to my new channel as well, Space Detective 1. And if you're not on ArtAlienTV Mars magazine, do come along. This is a cool page. We get lots of new stories every day, not just about Mars, but about all the planets and stuff. And I always post stuff on here first, before it goes on YouTube. So if you want to see it before anyone else does, come along and you'll see things like this on a daily basis. Okay, and there's hardly any trolls on this site, which is great. And we've just gone over 3,000 members in the last few days, which is great. Things are picking up, and there we are. So there's loads of stuff to read here, all about space and stuff like that, and anything to do with planets and planetary anomalies, and even Earth anomalies as well. Check out the GIGAPAN. Thanks to Neville Thompson for this GIGAPAN. Lovely, big, bright GIGAPAN, this one. Tons of stuff to see here. If I find anything else, I'll put it in a few seconds. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.